The views expressed here are those of the authors and do not in any way represent the views of Sophia TV.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another edition of Ladies First. I'm joined here by my wonderful panelists, Amina, Nishat and Salah. Assalamu alaikum. Going to go straight into it. Lots to talk about. So let's discuss this David Cameron, gosh, another crazy idea about, well, is it crazy? Women traditionally being submissive in the Muslim community. Now, does he have a point in this argument? We must admit, we must, call a spade. There are certain sections of our community from certain geographical locations that see women's roles as being something very different to what we're accustomed to in the West. And I'm going to call it, for example, traditionally people from Bengali communities, a lot of women, they take a backward role in the home, not being backward, but they're in the home, they're with the family. A lot of them don't speak English. A lot of them are not involved with day-to-day activities of the country, for example. So do you think, and in the era of trying to combat radicalization and all that, do you think that he's overstepped his mark in saying, making such a broad comment about we're trying to reach out to, Muslim women who are traditionally submissive? How do you feel about that, Michelle?
I feel Muslims believe in equality as well with men and women, and it's in the Quran as well. But my husband always tells me, and I agree with him, and I don't know if that makes me submissive.
I don't know. Let me think about that
one. He says that equality does not have to be similarity. So just because you're in the house looking after your family and bringing your children up does not mean you're any lesser or more than your husband who's maybe out there trying to earn for the family. Mm-hmm. Integration, I think, is a big thing. You have to be, but you don't have to be able to speak English to be integrated.
Whoa, I have a problem with that. Okay, I feel, my personal opinion, I'm going to get killed, but it's okay. So if you've decided to live in a certain country, say I wanted to go to Sweden, forget about legally I have to learn the language because they have things implemented, but shouldn't I be able to communicate? Isn't that going to help me be involved in processes and stuff? Go ahead. And you can kill me, it's fine.
Can I just say something that really annoys me? Because so many British people, when they reach a certain age, they go to Spain and they go to other countries and they retire there.
Expats.
And they do not pick up the language or the culture, but they expect everybody that comes to their country has to assimilate, everybody has to speak English by a certain time and display certain British values. But it's not, they don't do it when they go abroad. So,
if you go to France, dare you say something in English, you will not be served. Mm-hmm. At least make it up as you go along, do some hand gestures, want a baguette or something. But they will not talk to you or reply to you in English. And most waiters know, the food in English or word English, but they want to see you at least have a go. What are your views?
I think that if you don't learn the language of a country, you are disempowering yourself. And I think for women in particular, it is prudent to learn the language because we tend to be more vulnerable. At least myself, wherever I've lived or been, I've made an effort to learn the dominant language. Albeit I think part of the issue here is really historical, and that is, it's not just a question of people moving to the UK for a better life or jobs, but there's the whole colonialist era and people coming in under that umbrella. So I've sensed in some communities there's a bit of resentment towards English, which I didn't even realize. Someone told me once just straight up we shouldn't have religious speeches in English because the British came and took over India and they took over our language and we need to keep our heritage. So, there's this sense of the, one can say the repercussions of colonialism. No, I'm not defending that we shouldn't speak English because I think it is prudent. And also, I think most of our community does speak English here. But just that I'm saying I understand the dynamics behind this sort of thing are really quite complex.
Well, let's look at the borough of Lambeth, Tower Hamlets. being in medical care, when you go to a lot of the hospitals, there are about 15 different languages that tell you where the A&E is, where the entrance is. And the point is, well, and when you have patients that come there are a lot of women who come with their husbands because the ladies cannot speak English. And there's some, as a healthcare professional, sometimes you want to ask the lady the question or find out about their children. And they feel quite, what's the word I want to use? That they feel quite intimidated if the male isn't there to do that. But it's not only Muslim communities, it's in the some Sikh communities and it's in the Hindu community, but it is a problem in our community, in the Muslim community as a whole, that there are certain groups that certain demographics will not try to learn the language, and that's the issue.
Well, I think it's more of an issue of social class. I mean, you get someone from an educated background anywhere in the world, chances are they come here, they're going to speak English. I don't care if they're from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Japan, wherever. Because they're coming from a class with a certain amount of social mobility and so on and so forth. And then you get someone maybe from a more working class background, it is more likely the woman's going to be isolated, maybe not going to be expected to work at a job outside the home that really requires any sort of language schools or go to school and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of secondary issues here, and I think the fallacy of pointing to Islam is that it's really neglecting the things that are really going on behind the scenes. I mean, I don't have statistics, but I do think a good number of Muslim women here do speak English.
I wanted to add to, you know, the statistics that David Cameron came up with. He said 22% of Muslim women. Now, there's already a flaw in that. The first flaw is that in that statistics, they did not regard girls age between 6 and 15 year olds, and they had also women over 65, I think, within that statistics. And even within that, I think when the statistics were actually looked at, it was about 40,000 women more than, or there were less women than 40,000 who David Cameron thought there were, who couldn't speak English. So when you include all these issues, I think 22% is a high number. You know, that's almost saying that 1 in 5 cannot speak or will not speak English very well. So I think that already is a flaw there, you know. And also, you know, you put in £20 million for just Muslim women to learn English because I mean, I would take that gladly. You know, yeah, please let us all learn English.
But you can already speak English.
No, you can't take that 22%. But I think relating that to them saying that, you know, it is the cause of then disintegration of societies where, you know, then because young men cannot communicate within their families because of women who can't speak English, then are, you know, prone to become radicalized, or then, you know, relating that to FGM, or, you know, I think that's a bit absurd.
But I don't know, because Sarah, imagine you're in a country, your child's going to secondary school, you don't know what they're doing. You don't understand the language, you can't access the homework, you can't do...
Why is it that the woman has to?
Well, Islamically, traditionally, he's going on stereotypical views of what Muslim women do. They say they take care of the home, they control the children, everybody knows what their child is doing 24 hours a day. That, allegedly in his world. So he's saying, well, let's access the, you know, let's go to the women who have more control over their household. So is that a wrong thing?
I still don't see why he's specifically targeting Muslim women. I mean, you were just saying that there's such an influx of people coming from Eastern Europe now who still haven't picked up the language. So thank you for the funding, but you know, why constantly target Muslim women who, okay, maybe the minority haven't picked up English to the level that satisfies him, but they still contribute on a daily basis to their families, to their wider society. So
because he's seeing it as there's a Muslim problem, Sarah. It's not, you don't see Polish people. Well, that's not true. There are a couple that do.
5.2 million British that cannot speak the language, or there's a literacy problem within 5.2 million of British. I mean, where's the funding for all of them? Why just, you know,
just focus on Muslim?
I mean, this is going to be a very unpopular thing to say.
Go ahead.
I do think there's a grain of truth. It's not that our community can't speak English. Most of the Muslim women I know do speak English. But I was actually quite surprised when I came to the UK to find how institutionally discriminated against our kids are in the schools. And my experience is a lot of Muslim kids here do receive a substandard education, and there's actually proven that Muslim girls in particular are discriminated against, even compared to Hindu girls in the schools. And so, although we do speak English, unfortunately I found that many of our youth don't gain, one can say, the formal English skills or the academic English skills they need to succeed in the university or higher than that. And that's due, again, to, unfortunately, an institutional problem with respect to the school system in Muslims. So it's not everyone, but it does happen. And if he wants to put the money into fixing that, all the better.
But to be fair, having friends in education, and one is a teacher, she says, I've got a class of 32 children, they're all 8 and 9 years old. Because of legislation and England taking on a lot more refugees, I'm having a lot of Somalis, Indian, Bengali who don't speak the language. And those children tend to isolate themselves, whereas the Eastern European children will come in who don't speak English and pick up the language because they want to be integrated. And she was saying with certain communities, Muslim communities, they don't have come over to my house for tea, even with other Muslim children. So, and they start speaking with each other. They stick very much to themselves and their group. So the only time they'll interact with children is when they're in the class, and that's because they have to, when they're doing group maths or whatever. But whereas the Romanian child will come in and he will try, and he's happy to kick a ball with whoever will kick a ball with him. But with the other children, so they're saying in education there's a problem because culturally, this is going back to the women, the mums can't speak the language, they're not assimilating, the children are sticking to themselves, and it's only until secondary school when they've picked up some slang words that they have
I work in a
friendship.
secondary school in London, Ruby, and I see that you've got these, kids we call with English as an additional language, and we have classes for them particularly. And I don't think that there's that great difference in how quickly Eastern European or Syrian or Somalian kid would pick the language than the other. And fitting in as well, I think a lot of Somalis now are, they have friends, but, sticking to your own group of people happens in all schools. And I don't say just for Somalis, you've got the Somalis, and then you've got the middle class white sticking with the middle class white, and you'll have the Pakistanis, sticking, and you will see in other classrooms that we have that mingling going on where you have, an Asian with, who is friends with the white. And you see these parents, these women who pick their children up outside the school, talking away to other women as well. I think the issue in education has been tackled.
So Sarah, what would you say, there was this I am not submissive campaign. Who was involved? Did anyone take part in that?
Yes, I did.
Did you take part?
I couldn't resist.
Well, I didn't. Did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you? What were you trying to say?
I was just trying to oppose his statement that as a Muslim woman, I am not traditionally submissive. I choose to engage in activities, and I am educated, and I do what I feel I should do, and I think I play a role in society that is an important role, and I give back. Like I got educated in London, and I want to give back to what I received. But I just wanted to tell a little story, because I started my education in the Emirates in Dubai, and then I came to London to study here, and it took me a long time, even though my mum is British and we were speaking English at home, it took me a long time to catch up with my peers at academic level of their English. So I think maybe we're just putting too much pressure on the children, because as a child you will catch up, you will have the
different experiences at the same
as well by schools.
Yeah, I think it took me up until college, embarrassingly, but eventually I got there and I went to university and I completed my studies and everything. So I think just there's too much pressure. I think for everybody to be in the same bracket, and everybody has different life experiences, and people will adjust. And
I wasn't following the campaign, I was a bit busy. But was there anybody on there who didn't speak English but said, look, I'm not submissive, I actually like being a housewife and looking after my
there was
kids
a housewife, I remember.
but didn't speak English?
No, she did speak English.
What amazed me was there were so many elderly women that actually put their, traditional submissive hashtag up. I was amazed and impressed with them. It wasn't just these young women that are working women, juggling life and home and everything, like ourselves. But there was, these women who are grandmothers, that they look after children, their kids, their grandkids, what qualification they have. And just because they're not working doesn't mean that they don't have that. Just because they choose to be at home, looking after their kids, doesn't mean that they're traditionally submissive. It's their choice.
So why didn't you join the little tweet?
I was busy.
I was actually busy. Well, I actually wasn't busy. I just pretended. I just lied. I did see the campaign and I did support it, but I didn't want to be involved in it. Why? Because this is the problem. I feel because I'm on TV and I have a massive mouth, that everybody expects me to support every cause. And I want to be a bit selective, and frankly, I don't have the time. I don't want to hold a poster saying I'm not submissive, quite frankly. But if you did, that's great. But I don't want to be always looked upon as, I have to join every cause and I have to make, because I'm there, that, I wanted to be in the shadows, actually. Somebody else can do it.
But, you say that one piece of paper wouldn't justify how much we take on ourselves.
But I didn't want to. Why should I have to justify it? That's the thing. So I wanted to.
How we're saying about this integration, and I think Muslim women or men, we need to go out there and show what we're capable of and what we contribute to the society.
Well, we're here speaking English on television from different backgrounds. I think that's enough. But I do partly agree with David Cameron. I do think if there's a problem, however uncomfortable it is, even if it doesn't affect our immediate community, we should be able to say, fair point. There are
but that's not the problem, Ruby. The problem is that to then link that illiteracy with FGM and with radicalization, that is the problem. I mean, like I said, I welcome this funding for women to learn English. I mean, not just Muslim women, but anybody. But then to relate that to then, radicalization, I think that's
would you have felt better if he gave, well, I don't know, has he given the money yet? I don't know. But if he gives it to, like, say, Stanmore or whatever institution and say, look, in the community, you guys deal with it. How would you feel? Would it be less offensive if he said, look, if you have some people, I've noticed you haven't had 7 English lectures this month. I'm giving you some money to educate, grandma, whoever, who's 75 to speak English. Would that make everyone feel better?
One thing I have noticed since coming to the UK is I have been a bit surprised at, one can say, the paternalistic stance of the government with respect to Muslims, in the sense of we know better than them, and maybe a little bit of we need to civilize them, and so on and so forth. So from that angle, yes, I think respecting the capabilities and right for self-determination of the Muslim community would probably have gone a bit better. That being said, I did have some mixed feelings about the campaign too. On the one hand, I thought it's a good way to engage in outreach and really to show the diversity of the Muslim community and break stereotypes and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. On the other hand, maybe I'm a bit more in your camp in some ways, or maybe not. I don't wish to ascribe views to you. One, I don't like being defensive and having other people determine the dialogue. I don't feel that I need to prove myself to someone, and it's almost like I felt like some people are trying to prove we can play your game. So, for example, I'm worthwhile because I have 3 degrees and 5 professions, and I speak 10 languages and do this and that. And we don't need to prove ourselves like that. As you mentioned, there are many things that we can do. You can be a housewife, you can be a banker, you can be anything else. And I think also, my sort of more deep-rooted view is I think this is sort of a cultural/civilizational irony. Because on the one hand, the West nowadays sort of waves the flag of gender equality. But on the other hand, not that it's necessarily a religious society, but Christianity does very heavily have the view on a religious basis that a woman should be submissive. And I think
in your vows, isn't it? In your church vows, is it to love and obey, sickness and through health, blah 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 blah.
So my point is, this is entrenched in the Christian worldview, and even people who aren't religious, who come from a Christian educated background, will associate religion with directly commanding women to be, quote, submissive. Now, they may be against it, but they see it that way, and they tend to project these views on Islam. Now, as Muslims, I feel like we're schizophrenic, because as I think you rightly said, most of our
going to say, like yourself.
I think in many of our cultures, there is an assumption that women should be submissive, which, frankly, I interpret as meaning instead of being aggressive or passive-aggressive. But the point being, it's culturally expected. We may even cast it in a religious light, that this is kind of what a good Muslim woman does. But as you mentioned, it's not something that actually the Quran says in the same way that the Bible says. So the whole idea is kind of, I'd say it's actually more of a Western Christian statement. And also I think we should be challenged. Okay, let's say a lady is traditionally submissive, although they are separate things. I think traditional and submissive.
Two different things.
So what? I mean, who cares? It's certainly not anything that really has anything to do with him. And as you mentioned, that really has nothing to do with radicalization. The issues behind, in fact, I'm not even comfortable with using the word radicalization. I found in our community here, I feel uncomfortable with us allowing the media to determine certain concepts, determine which concepts are bad, and impose them on us. Of course, it happens elsewhere too. But for example, what does it mean, radicalization? To one person, that might mean wearing a headscarf or praying 5 times a day or going to Friday prayers or something. And I'm not saying it's good to become a terrorist and start killing innocent people or something, but I'm saying I'm not really happy to embrace that term myself. But that being said, there are separate issues.
What would you like to have done then? What would you say to David Cameron, other than I am not submissive?
Other than leave us alone. I don't know really. I still don't understand the links that he made. Okay, fine. If you don't speak the language, then maybe you won't be able to, oppose a view that has been about FGM. But I don't see how, because and about radicalization, if it's not part of your belief, whether you speak the language or not, then how would you engage in radical activities? Do you know what I mean?
And also these radicalized groups, or terrorist groups, how have we gone and seen who from their heads, women in the background who cannot speak English? I don't know how this link was made.
Do you think it was slightly Islamophobic, what he said?
Yeah, and not just that, it's taking away the value of a woman. Just because she doesn't speak the language doesn't make her any less than any other woman. If she is happy and her family are happy and she's a functioning human, whether she speaks the language or not, quite frankly, it's got nothing to do with him.
But with all due respect, you don't see the Greek Cypriot community, whose grandmother's 72 years old, who doesn't speak English, having a problem the way Muslims do at the moment. So in terms of the craziness that certain parts of our community have, he's not going to direct it to them.
A lot of different, groups.
But they're not going around causing the trouble that some certain Muslim groups are doing. So what would you expect him to say? What would you like him to say?
To stop radicalization, wouldn't it be better to engage with these women or any person who has these certain views in their own language, so that it does,
But they're in England.
Okay, they're in England, but if they hold views and you're going to teach them English and then teach them to unradicalize, it doesn't make sense to me.
What would you like to happen? Sorry to cut you.
Can you specify a bit more what sort of radicalization we're talking about here?
We're going to put it in the context of how politicians feel in that, we're not, mothers are not taking this by the horns, and they don't know what their children are doing, and the husbands are leading them, and they don't have a voice. That's what he means in the Muslim community. He's not talking about any other community. He's talking about the Muslim community. I didn't hear him say, let's give the money to Hindus, Orthodox Jewish people who speak.
But then there are families, Hindu families or Jewish families or other, not Jewish maybe, but other, religious families who have women in the household who are not, English speaking.
Yes, but the point is, their society, how many Sikh communities have some ideology
but
that they're
how do we know that they're being radicalized or not?
Well, we don't see anything on the news. But going back to the point, that's what he means.
So if the kid goes over to Israel and starts killing Palestinians, it's not radicalization, it's just he's being a Jew?
Yes, basically, that's what's happening. So in his context, what should be done in terms of the Muslim community can't handle their own community. So I'm going to help them by giving them how much money to help the women and make them more civilized.
Well, of course, this has nothing to do with being civilized, but like I was saying, the money isn't necessarily a bad thing, and I think there is more that could be done for the Muslims who grow up here, so I'm not talking about immigrants, with respect to educational opportunities and equal educational opportunities, and if he wants to finance that, all the better.
SubhanAllah. I think if I could solve the problem, I would happily take the money and then I'll put it in the community groups. And actually, I think there should be a woman piloting the scheme. Because I've always said, I think if you get 5 women together, we need one more, that we could change the world for the better. I mean, mothers, grandmothers, there's so much work that they do behind the scenes.
Oh, but they have to be English speaking.
Yes, we will teach them, we will say it in their language and then teach them English. I'm happy with that. But I think that's what we should start doing, because I think for a lot of the Muslim mosques and stuff, we're not community centres. We don't have the answers to everything. And it's okay to say, we don't know. We're learning as we go ahead too. This is a new phenomena for us. You can't group us with Sunni people and expect us to have an answer, but could you at least help us, not work against us?
And I think these comments that he's made has then, made this us against them thing, which is even worse, because that's what radicalizes, or tends to, when British young men cannot, feel like they're integrated, feel like they belong, that sense of belongingness. That's what, that exclusion is what brings radicalization.
Oh, you've opened up a can of worms. What would they need to feel like they belong then? What would they need?
Well,
they've got the internet. I think most young people have iPads, God knows what. So what would they need?
But that's what I'm saying, that by saying that you Muslim folk, because your women folk cannot speak English, are, less or better than other communities. That is, just because we're saying what is an issue and what will maybe disintegrate young men doesn't mean that we have the answers to what will,
But it's women as well. Look at the jihadi brides as well.
Yeah, but they all spoke English, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, did they? But their parents, yes, they did. Most of them did. And most of them came from good homes. Yeah. I think what it is, I think David Cameron needs some female Muslim advisors. I'm here if he needs to call me. I'm happy to help. And I think we need to have an honest discussion. We have, like in Stanmore, there's other communities as well that have done really well. The women have done really well. I'm not talking about how much money they have or what cars they drive. I mean, a sense of identity and what they bring to the table. And I think maybe he's looking at a certain demographic where they haven't got to that stage yet. So maybe he needs to come and talk to the women and ask them what it is that they need, rather than
imposing his views.
Yeah. Well, it was a really good point you had, that if such a program were to be run, it should be run by women. His attitude is also rather paternalistic, the idea that we men are going to show these women what they need, and I can tell you what you need to do, and I can tell you what's wrong with you. And it is also disempowering. So women also tend to know what is needed in the community of women. And so that was an excellent idea.
Well, thanks. But let's take it back. But there are some incidences where, in our community where Muslim women aren't really taken seriously. Have you tried using some of the bathrooms in some Muslim institutions? It's like, did you not know that there's going to be women here? Can we not have slippers? Could we not have certain products for women?
I always thought Muslim centres had, better bathroom facilities.
No, I've been to some, as if women need to use the bathroom or have children. There's some.
Yeah, but that's a community issue. That's not the government's issue here. The last thing we need is the government getting into issues of.
I want nice smelling soap.
We should have funding for that as well.
Not even that, just a bigger area for us to be in when we're listening to the lecture.
Yeah,
because we have our kids as well. So and they shove us in this little tiny place, and they give them this massive Oh yeah.
I think
Anyway,
what it comes down to,
God.
I think David Cameron obviously needs to look at us, all Muslim women, not just us, and ask our ideas on what we think we need in the community and how we can help.
That's an excellent
start,
point.
inshallah. Another interesting discussion. Hope to see our viewers soon, inshallah. Hope you've enjoyed the program. Assalamu alaikum.
If you've been affected by anything discussed in this episode, do speak up to find assistance at your GP, local authorities or helplines online.